So we're going to start with the somatic practice, just like we always do. How often do you just get to sit and breathe and be for a second? And I know everybody had busy days, lots going on. So I'm just going to invite you to get comfortable and relax. Close your eyes or soften your gaze and take a few slow, deep breaths. Just breathe into that belly place. Exhale, slow it down, slower than your inhale, and just breathe. Just a reminder, for the next few minutes, there's nothing for you to do, nowhere to go. It's just a time to simply be with yourself. The day is almost over. The class is almost over. So just notice what it feels like to be here now. Follow that breath into your belly, expand it with air. Bring yourself into that space, dropping into your center with each inhale and exhale slowly. And just notice if anything feels uncomfortable, make a shift in your body towards more comfort. Sometimes our grief is so heavy that we have to set it down for a while and just take a walk outside, eat something healthy, talk with a friend, watch something funny, anything positive that doesn't remind you of your sadness. Being a friend to yourself will give you the energy that you need to come back again to process your grief. So as you breathe in, notice the feeling of the breath entering your nose. Feel the breath traveling to your lungs, expanding them. Imagine that oxygen spreading through your body, filling your legs and your feet, your arms and your hands. Imagine that oxygen clearing your mind. Feel that breath leaving your body. As you exhale, imagine the breath is carrying with it anything negative, toxic, stagnant energy that's accumulated throughout your day today. And when you inhale, bring to mind the things in your life for which you are thankful. Just breathe in and bring to mind the things that fill you with gratitude. So notice the place in your body that you might be carrying or holding the tension around some of your pain or your grief or your sadness. If you have any judgment or feel negatively towards that feeling, just gently release those negative feelings with your exhale. Just let them go. As you feel that place in your body that might be holding any of the pain or the suffering, imagine your breath flowing to that place, filling and expanding it. And each exhale, imagine the breath carrying with it some of the tension that you're holding. Release and let some of that energy flow. And with every breath in, you're setting some of that energy aside for now. Opening yourself up to more positive emotions, expansiveness. Just embrace the feeling of wonder in your body and for your life. Bring awareness to some of the positive aspects of life, which can empower you to see more of your mental experience. They also help you feel your bodily sensations more viscerally. Bring your attention to the people in your life that make you smile. Just imagine these people's faces. Let their smile fill your mind. Experience the joy that their smile makes you feel. Just look upon their joy, the joy they have for life, their joy for your relationship. Feel the gratitude that you get to live with this person in your life or these people. And shift your attention to the spaces in your life that you feel truly alive. Maybe it's your work or your vocation, a place where you're using your gifts and talents for the greater good of the world. A place that you know you are currently making a contribution. What does it feel like to see yourself as a gift to the world, as you are fully living into all that God has made for you or made you for? See yourself as God sees you, with the gifts he gave you, the callings he's placed in your life, however mundane they may seem. Can you name some of these talents or gifts that you have? What does it feel like as you bring your attention to the gifts and talents and the ways that you are a contribution to the world? Can you celebrate who you are and what you're bringing into the world that only you can bring? There is only one you with your unique personhood and qualities. What does it feel like to give yourself permission to just feel your giftedness? You are fearfully and wonderfully and beautifully made. God knitted you together in your mother's womb. He knows the hairs on your heads and the beauty and the uniqueness of who he made you to be. Just feel this love. As you think about opening yourself up to more expansiveness, consider what might have changed in you since your loss, since whatever happened that you wish could have been different or better. What has changed in you? Maybe you've begun to appreciate life in a way that you've never done before or you weren't aware of. Maybe you've learned a lot as a result of your experience. Maybe you can just notice the way that other people have shown up for you, or the deeper appreciation you have for people or your circumstances. Just look at your life with a little more gratitude for the good gifts you have. Allow these feelings and experiences to flow through you and just resonate. For times of grief, it can be helpful to allow what's there to be there and try to limit what's painful or harmful and just open up into a space of wonder and gratitude. So as you sit there, just remember these feelings in your heart space and in your body. These feelings that we've generated can serve as a tool to help you when you need to shift into joy, when you need to shift into your belongingness. Notice what it feels like in your body as you sit here and you've thought through all these ways that you are a gift to the world and the things that you've learned and how they're making you who you are today. Bring your attention back to your body, back to your breath. Notice your feet on the ground. And whenever you're ready, just open your eyes and bring your attention back into the room. Yeah, I think there's this notion that just leave it in the past. That happened, let it go, let it lie. It will stay dead. And I actually think the inverse is true. That actually when we don't look at our stories, they become like haunt. And the problem with hauntings is that we never know when they're gonna creep up on us. Rather than walking through life waiting for the story to get us, we actually, in telling our stories, get to look at it and face it for its mangy, ugly, disgusting, beautiful mess. And when we tell our stories, we get our power back over the story, essentially. I think what comes with that, and what I hear you resisting, is that in telling our story, there will be a price you pay for that, an emotional price. The reason we avoid things is because we know that they're big. We want to just leave it in the past, but when we actually work with our story, we can tell it and transform it. We can shape the words, we can articulate our thoughts, we can get altitude above it, we can see things that we didn't see before, and it can reveal to us new places to grieve or to do work, or new places of giftings, new places to find gratitude. Because when our stories are just back here, they're still informing everything that we see in the world. Just because we think we're leaving them behind, they're still there, lingering, having power over us. But when we actually do the work to look at it and shape it, we can inform ourselves differently. We can see it through a different lens. We can create different meaning. We can create a different experience of what we went through. So I think that's a powerful invitation for you to keep being with it in a way that is transforming it and turning toward it so that it doesn't feel like this haunting. The more I started to look at and tell my story, it's not a ghost to me anymore. It's just part of how God is shaping me into the person that I am. And not only that, but the story has been transformed into testimony, creating the most meaning in my life. In the beginning, God created the world, and he made all the things, and he was the creator, the author, the potter with the clay, and yet he still invited Adam to name the animals. In the Hebraic worldview, naming is actually to give meaning. So when the invitation is for you to name the loss, to name the grief, to name the things that are keeping you stuck in life, you're actually creating meaning around them. And the way that we hold them and look at them and shift them actually begins to create the world around us. In scripture, it says that God is the author of our stories. Our stories were written before we were born, and yet he's giving us all this power to choose the meaning that we make of our stories. And so we get to be with God as a storyteller, authoring a story that he's given us freedom to choose our interpretation, to make our meaning of it, and to decide what kind of power it's going to have over us or we're going to have over it. In essence, we are co-creating with him the world in which we want to live. And I think the beautiful part of what I see in scripture of God telling a story is that there's Friday, and there's the cross, and Jesus being battered and bruised and murdered and betrayed by everyone that he loved. There's Saturday, which is this liminal space of what is happening? What is he up to? How's this story going to end? It's sitting in the feeling of what the hell is Saturday? It might actually be the most important day on Easter weekend, to actually just sit in how does the story end? And then there's Sunday, and Jesus rises, and the story is made new. But what I notice about that is that Jesus is not resurrected without his scars. They can touch them, they can feel them, they're a part of who he is, they're a part of the story of this like miraculous story of redemption that Jesus goes and does. Even in Revelation chapter 5, when Jesus comes back, he still has scars. He's in a resurrected heavenly body. And they actually say that like they touch his scars. And so there's never a hiding, there's never a minimizing, there's never a problem with Friday. It's just part of the story. Charles Spurgeon said it best. Why should our exalted Lord appear in his wounds in glory? The wounds of Jesus are his glory. And I think that's such a beautiful invitation for us, that our stories of loss, betrayal, grief, the things we wish in our life could have been different. God doesn't give us the answer to why for those things, but he does give us the freedom to choose what we do now in the face of them. And he's also not asking you to pretend like they didn't happen or to erase them. He's asking you to live with them in a resurrected body. And so as we attend to these stories and transform them, we will have new eyes to see it in a new way. So your original interpretation of the story might have carried throughout your life in many ways. So as you attend to chapters 2 through 62, maybe just notice where the meaning that you made of that first experience and that first betrayal might show up in other places of how you interpreted it. It's like there's a story that was birthed in you at this moment that this thing happened, and then that became a thing that you used to interpret how you viewed the world and how you created the world to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself from harm. Beautiful work. You're alive. You're an amazing human being. And where might you be able to change, continue to reframe that story for yourself moving forward so that it's not a haunting and it's something that you face and have clarity on moving forward. So today we're going to be exploring what it looks like to create and name the meaning that you will make from your suffering. Meaning is relative and personal to every person. There's no, here's the meaning that you're going to make out of your life. I have no idea what it is. I don't have the answers to that. It doesn't come from like understanding why. It's not like, oh, this is why it's all happened. I don't sit here today. Well, this is why we went through all that suffering, is that I could offer what I've learned to the world. It's not the why, it's the what. It's the what that I chose to do with my story. And I just want to read to you. This is Isaiah 55, 8 through 13. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And as the rain and the snow come down from heaven, they do not return without watering the earth, making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seeds for the sower and bread for the eater. So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It does not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and the hills will burst in song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush will grow the juniper. Instead of the briars, the myrtle will grow. This will be the Lord's renown for an everlasting sign that will endure forever. Just as the rain and the snow fall to earth, to pour themselves out for the purpose of making the earth grow and flourish, God's word doesn't return to him empty. Neither will our stories return to us empty if we put in the work to make meaning out of our stories, to burst forth into song. All these weeds and these sharp edges and these desolate places will be made fruitful. So, meaning is the sixth stage of grief. David Kessler added that on to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's model of the 5 stages of grief because he felt like they were missing something, and I agree. Your loss is not a test. It's not a lesson. It's not something to handle. It's not necessarily a gift or a blessing. Loss is simply what happens in your life. Meaning is what you make happen. He says this, which is a real gut punch, guys. He says, I guess the real question is, why not me? Why did I think that I was going to get through this life without sorrow, pain, or grief? In a real sense, making meaning out of your story is allowing the story to become integrated into who you are. It's not just this one thing that happened to me that one time. It's the story living in me as part of my Friday and Saturday and Sunday journey. So we're gonna do a little activity. So we often think like this is our grief. This is what it looks like forever. It's a circle, just a big circle. So we're like, oh, this is our grief and it's gonna be the same size or shape. Or maybe we think over time it'll get smaller. But I want to assert that what happens is that we just grow around it. New spaces of expansiveness. So the grief may always be the same size and shape, but our understanding and our experience of it are different. This activity is an invitation for you to explore what else is possible. So you're in the leaves, there's 2 leaves. If you want to draw 12 leaves, go for it. But I'd invite you to just very specifically name the thing that your story was about, a grief that you have been grieving over the last couple weeks. That will go in the spot where the leaves are. So just take a minute and write in whatever comes to mind. You could put a bunch of things in the leaves. Maybe you have a big grief and little griefs that you want to put in and fit it all in. Maybe you want to draw a bunch of leaves. Write whatever it is that you have been working through the last few weeks while we've been here. When you're done, you can move at your own pace. One of the flowers is named gratitude. I'm just going to invite you to just name some of the things for which you are grateful for. Maybe it's things that exist totally outside of your loss. Maybe it's the support systems, the people in your life, how you appreciate your relationship with time now. Any meaning you might be grateful for that you've made out of life, your health, your job, your family, your community. The next one you're gonna write, what I am learning. What have you learned from your experience? Really open yourself up to consider, have I been learning something along the way? The value of life, things I want to do differently. Then in the flower called gifts, you're going to write all the ways in which you are a gift to the world. So, are you a mother? Are you a friend? Are you a wounded healer? How do you make a contribution in the world? And then vision. So the vision is what you want moving forward. What do you want your life to look like? Purposes you might serve, how you want to participate. They could also be character traits. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be somebody that doesn't judge and is not so self-righteous.